This is real life, and we all have our moments. It's hard. It's hard to be a human on this planet right now, and there are many people who are kind of burying their head in the sand and just going for the zombie thing because it's easier. And one thing that I will say that is my big message right now is the majority of the people on the planet want to live in a generous way. If you can become in any way an inspiration to another human being, that's a victory.
So excited to have my dear friend and incredible mystic and just incredible human, Kaypacha, on the show today. Welcome. Thank you for being here all the way from Costa Rica in the planetary matrix. Kaypacha, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
So happy. I've been trying to make this happen, and I feel like it's a big celestial gift to have you on, kind of at the crest of 2018. I've been saying that I always think it's auspicious when the Roman calendar aligns with the lunar calendar, which is happening here on January 1st. What's your take on all? I mean, I feel like 2018 kind of is promising quite a huge transformation. What's your vibes on this personally and just astrologically?
Yes, well, where to begin? There are so many aspects and so many levels.
Yeah.
I mean, I can start with, there's two major shifts that have just happened. So Jupiter went into Scorpio a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, and that goes around every 12 years. So it's kind of a yearly, spends a year in a sign, okay? And so it's in Scorpio, which is, the sign of death, resurrection, power, the kind of end of the ego or the personal self that started in Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. This is like, my building up my original creative energy. And then in Scorpio, we meet death. We meet sex. We meet other people's values, other people's powers, forces we can't control, Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It says, oh, what, Sonny? Yeah, it's death. So it is the end of this kind of, self, I, me, my kind of thing. And then the birth in Sagittarius is transpersonal consciousness. So it's this expansion, and then Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, and then Pisces, we go into cosmic consciousness, right?
Yeah.
So it's this whole kind of, you look at this evolutionary stream. So Jupiter is this planet of more, just more.
Right.
More dying, okay? More letting go, more, surrendering or trusting or learning when to confront and when to surrender to something outside or something bigger than just my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we're all kind of confronting the shadow or, our demons or, what we are afraid of.
Right.
And will it eat us? Will it devour us? Will it kill us? Where do we just kind of go down? This is the underworld. Scorpio is the underworld. I tell you, if you really want to know what my latest excitement is, is that, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we have been light-oriented. They worshipped the sun. And, in astrology, fire and air is the masculine.
Yeah.
And we've been in this patriarchy, masculine energy for 6,500 years. And we're worshiping the sun, and it's all about light, and the masculine is clear and straight and controlled, and bureaucracy and governments and order and structure, and this is this fire and air in astrology. Okay?
Right.
And so we're ending the patriarchy, and so what do? In 2000, they discover a black hole at the center of our galaxy.
Right.
And I was just reading this article, that there's like 80% dark matter the universe consists of 80% dark matter, right?
Right.
And so this is in astrology, earth and water is the feminine.
Right.
Scorpio
Right.
is in a feminine sign.
Yeah.
And the feminine is the dark.
Yeah.
Okay. It's chaos. It's the serpent energy. It's the life juice. It's the magical, unexplainable mystery, that is, that's not ordered and structured and clear and defined like we are so used to. So I find it very interesting now, this Jupiter moving through Scorpio. Okay, it's just like, and Mars is also there too now. And
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Okay.
Look, I want to know dates on this though, because I have a theory that this Jupiter into Scorpio and then the Mars into Scorpio is correlating with this kind of deconstruction of Hollywood and all of the literally the patriarchy being crumbling before our very eyes in the past couple of months. Am I right about this? What are the dates?
October.
On this? Yeah.
It was October that Jupiter went in there.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Have you actually looked at the date compared to the Harvey Weinstein news? I'd be so curious. I don't know exactly what the date is, but didn't the whole Harvey Weinstein thing start to happen right around that?
That was right then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The synchronicity is just, boom. And the Scorpio is like sex. And it's like, what's under the carpet? What skeletons are in the closet? What have you been hiding? What is, it's just like, it's a disclosure. I think the disclosure project should like really be taking off this year, in every way, shape, and form.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is, this aspect of and it's coming up to exactly square the moon's nodes, okay, right now. And when planets square the moon's nodes, okay, the moon's nodes has to do with the dragon's tail and the dragon's head, past lives and future soul intention. So they are now in Aquarius and Leo, and we're coming out of the south node in Aquarius to the north node in Leo. And what this is it's like bringing this age of Aquarius, bringing the future. Aquarius is the future. Aquarius is a level playing field of community members that are, coexisting together, in an enlightened state of, consciousness.
Right.
And the polarity of that, okay, is Leo, okay, which is the stage. It's playful. I always call Aquarius the sportscaster and Leo the quarterback.
Right.
It's Aquarius is detached and aloof and the genius and kind of above it all. And Leo's just kind of like in there, getting stomped on, but, having a good time. Right.
Right.
So it's taking these cosmic, I say extraterrestrial intelligence and like bringing it into creative expression and manifested form. So when a planet squares these moon's nodes, it's like a skipping stone. It's almost like a detour. Okay, evolutionary astrology calls it a skip step. It's like, what? Before you can manifest, before you can express, okay, your genius, before you can like really come fully into creating a new original self, you've got to do this. It's this missing piece. You've got to do Jupiter in Scorpio. Interesting. It's like, this is like, it puts even more of a pressure or a push or a demand, okay, upon the collective to really look at their orientation around their values. Okay, and really, Scorpio is about power. Yeah. Financial, sexual, famous, followers. It's about power. It's about influence. Right. Okay. It's about mastery, ultimately. So this Jupiter moving through here is saying, we really need to master our shadow self, master our, what we have suppressed or denied or avoided, and are ashamed of or feel guilty about. We have to become whole almost and accept our totality before we can hit the stage, hit the limelight, and really be authentic. Leo is just like, okay, it's like, here I am. I hope you like my show.
Right. And also the Leo I think in its most evolved form is a leader, a true kind of a heart opened and a true lion, or a true, kind of leader of women and men. Like that's, I think, in a more heightened, evolved archetype of Leo, that's the, essence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to think of King Arthur in particular. I find him to be a very interesting fellow, right? Because Genevieve was sleeping with Lancelot. And he was still a king.
Yes.
I mean, talk about a humbling experience. Talk about, like, wow, I'm supposed to be, the freaking awesomest, best top, right? And my partner is, anyway. But.
Yeah, that's interesting, because that is that's part of the mythos, and it like deeply embedded in the mythos of that kind of.
Yeah.
The newest King Arthur movie, I thought, did a really good job of kind of holding that archetype. I thought it was excellent, actually. It was very complex in the archetype that came out in 2017. It's worth watching. It's really good.
I saw that on the airplane. It's great.
That's the only time I catch up on my movies. Okay, so where's Mars is Mars conjunct Jupiter in this square of the moon's nodes? Like how is that playing into this?
Yeah. It's catching up. Okay.
Yeah.
Jupiter actually just squared the moon's nodes last week, but it moves rather slowly.
Right.
So I give it 3 weeks. It's there for another week. And Mars is catching up, to Jupiter, and it's hitting Jupiter January 6th. Okay, right around 19 degrees, I think, of Scorpio.
Wow.
This is, in cosmobiology, the German, where they make equations, it's Mars plus Jupiter equals creation and birth. Yeah. Because Mars is this pioneering initiation, and Jupiter is just expansion. You put these two together, it's just like really, it's a very explosive. And before they discovered Pluto, Mars is the ruler of Scorpio.
Right.
Right. So, we also see that Mars is kind of in his home territory here, and he's very powerful there. And I believe this is also, just about, each one of us really owning our Kundalini. I mean, Scorpio is, it has to do with the snake energy.
Absolutely. Yep.
Transforming into the eagle. Okay, this is like just the Kundalini rising up to, the sixth chakra. So, it's kind of unleashing, and that's maybe the problem. It's like ready or not, here it comes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm sure you've had students, that have this kind of premature Kundalini awakening, it's like, what the hell is going on? It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
It's upsetting of our equilibrium.
Well, it definitely, I think, just in terms of what my experience of that particular thing, not just astrologically, is that there is a strengthening that's happening where people are actually able to handle in some way. Some people, like there's an aspect of kind of cosmic warriorship happening on the planet where some people are ready and willing to handle that kind of spontaneous opening. And then obviously there's a lot of people who don't know what to do with it. And you're seeing that on all aspects of society.
Yeah. People like Trump.
Yeah.
Don't know what to do with it.
He doesn't, and he's getting some aspects. Trump, like he has some major aspects in what's happening. But you know what I'm saying? I've looked at his chart a couple of times, and I'm like, yeah, he's getting aspected, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Well, and then of course, the eclipses are happening, okay, in Aquarius and Leo now. And we have some big eclipses coming in 2018, and particularly, and Mars does a whole retrograde in Aquarius later on this next summer. Okay, so we have this whole kind of, and that's going to be actually on July 27th, I believe. There's a lunar eclipse with the moon conjunct Mars. Okay, in Aquarius, opposite the sun, and it's right on the moon's nodes.
Wow.
This is just like, and of course, Aquarius is square to Scorpio, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what was I going to say with all that? I think even a bigger aspect or element is this transition of Saturn into Capricorn.
Yeah.
Jupiter is a 12-year cycle. It goes through in a year. Okay. And actually it's about expansion and opportunity. And, it's the big plus sign. Okay. But Saturn goes around every 28 or 29 years. It's going to spend 3 years in the sign of Capricorn.
Yeah.
It's the ruler of Capricorn, so it's coming home to Capricorn. And it's, in a way, like returning home after a sojourn, okay, and it's ready to just like really, Saturn to me is form and structure.
Yeah.
And when it comes around, it reforms and restructures. And so it's time to reform and restructure our relationship to authority, our own authority.
Yes.
External authority, external conditioning, social, religious, cultural conditioning, as opposed to really coming into my own truth, my own belief, my own integrity, my own ethics and morals, and just like really, stepping into a place of dignity, self-acceptance, and, and structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
To me, right now, we've got the asteroid Lucifer, we've got Black Moon Lilith, we've got Venus, we've got the Sun, we've got Pluto, we've got Saturn, we've got 6, major, astrological elements in the sign of Capricorn. And of course, the United States Pluto is in Capricorn.
Oh, at what degree? At what degree is the natal Pluto?
27.
Interesting.
Yeah, the U.S. is coming up to its first Pluto return in 2020.
And is that going to be close to also when Saturn and Pluto go conjunct in 2020?
Yes.
Wow.
So this, we really have, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunct the natal Pluto of the United States. And not only that, but the south node of Pluto and the south node of Saturn are also in late Capricorn.
During that phase? Wow.
But they go around, it takes thousands of years for the planetary node of Pluto to actually, circumscribe the whole zodiac. Thousands and thousands of years. In fact, this end of the patriarchy has to do with the south node of Saturn. The patriarchy was initiated 6,500 years ago, which was the last time that the south node of Saturn was in Capricorn. This is why we associate Capricorn with the patriarchy.
Wow, that's very interesting, Kaypacha. I didn't know that. That's very fascinating.
So the planetary nodes it's a whole nother, kind of realm, to look into with the astrology. So this is, so this 2020, this coming together of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto has not even that. These are just the planets, not the nodes now. Just these planets haven't been together since, I think it was 2200 BC.
Wow.
Since we have had a Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction like we are having in 2020.
And then we'll have the Saturn node and the Pluto node as well. And Mars, is that what you said? Mars as well?
I mean, it's just like, it lasts the whole year. It's kind of like Jupiter comes up and Saturn comes up, and then they go retrograde. Okay. And then they all come back together again. It's really in December of 2020 where they really, you know, I don't want to say clash, but, you know, come together.
Yeah.
And I look at it as a planetary council. You know, they're gathering together. I look at it, I like to look at the positive side of things.
Yeah.
I like to look at it as a birth. I like to look at it as, you know what, this is like awesome. Yeah, because shortly thereafter, Jupiter and Saturn both go into Aquarius.
Right.
And then in 2023, Pluto goes into Aquarius.
Right.
And to me, that's really the birth of Aquarius.
Absolutely. And the end of the Kali Yuga. I mean, this is all, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, what we're dealing with now, these are balsamic, okay, you know, we're in the balsamic phase. Saturn is closing in. It's like, you know, it's like we're like with a new moon, you know, the moon goes all the way around, and then we have the balsamic. So it's end, finish, close, complete. It's like the Pisces, the last sign, or the 12th house. Okay, it has to do with kind of, you know, everything that has not been dealt with throughout the cycle needs to be brought, it needs to be brought up, brought to either resolution or destruction or, you know, release, you know. So if this is a great period, okay, and Saturn is the Lord of Karma. I'm doing a whole eCourse, my first eCourse. It's a 2-month eCourse on Saturn.
Really? When does that start, Kaypacha?
January 1st.
Oh my God. Okay, we have to make sure we have the link on that because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's with the Dream Team, and we each have a module, and we use Google Classrooms, and you know, have assignments and everything. It's my first trial with it, but I think it's like super cool because I have a bunch of people who really want to go deeper into this stuff. You know. Yeah.
People, I mean, this language is part of the language of the age of Aquarius, this language of astrology and the, you know, ability to kind of maneuver our own cosmic bodies around this in, you know, both in lexicon and in actual, our, you know, through 3-dimension.
I like that you're so into it. I didn't know you were so into it.
Well, before I was a yogi, I was an astrologer. I mean, I'm retired now because I don't, but I had great, and I actually want to put you together with my astrology teacher who you will love. She's a badass woman. And she's coming to Rama. Well, she does residencies in both Ramas, but she, you know, she was like a real Rhodes Scholar. Like she taught me on the streets of New York astrology, and that's how I learned. And then I started, yeah. So it's a very important language, and Yogi Bhajan was very into astrology, and which brings me to a question, because I've been talking a lot about the Saturn transit, and people have been, you know, kind of loudly commenting on social media about, you know, the precession of the equinoxes and why do I do Western astrology as opposed to Eastern astrology. And Yogi Bhajan was very into the magic of both, the alchemy of both. You know, he obviously was trained in Vedic astrology, but he used Western astrology when he came to the West. And that's kind of my answer to it, is that when you're in a Western kind of mind frame, I think Western astrology has a lot of gifts. But why do you do Western astrology as opposed to Vedic, or do you do both and I just don't know it? Or what's your answer on that?
I've looked into the Vedic, but come on, man, it makes me a Cancer with the moon in Taurus.
I know, that makes no sense. I mean, are you kidding?
So, but anyway, it is a totally different system. Okay, they've got lunar mansions, they've got planetary periods, they've got you know dashas. I mean, it's like such a completely different system that I almost even don't want to put the two together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that I was really into Rudolf Steiner for a long time, and Steiner talked about that the Vedic, the sidereal zodiac, has to do with the etheric body. So it's very good for medical. Okay, it's very good for physical. The etheric body is, far more fixed. I see the Vedic as more fatalistic.
Yes.
Far more fixed. We don't have that much conscious access to our etheric body, okay, to be like shifting and changing and moving things around. And the tropical zodiac has to do with the astral body. So there's more of a consciousness, moving with that astral energy. And of course, there's Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. The Vedic stops at Saturn.
Right.
Okay. And it's like, a third dimensional, material world, physical body, I had a Vedic reading one time by these Tibetan monks. I was like, oh man, Tibetan monks, Vedic reading, I'm going to find out like really, my ultimate destiny. And I go in there, and they go, you should not drive through dangerous neighborhoods at night. I was like, are you kidding me, man?
Yeah, there's a lot of I'm not saying everyone does it this way, but there is definitely a lot of superstition and a lot of future telling in a way that's not as quantumly activated. This is my experience of the which is also one of the reasons why I've stuck with. I also feel like Western astrology holds parapsychology in it, where you can really move the psychological and kind of metaphysical space through the cosmic movement. That's my personal experience. So that's why I've stuck with Western, but I've never asked you that question. So I was wondering, because people were really, people get up in arms about this whole kind of thing. They get very offended. People get offended about anything, but
Yeah. Because it's not real. When you look up in the night sky, okay, Venus is in, the sign of Gemini, and it's in the constellation of Taurus. Now, I will say that I do pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Okay. And as we have moved through, this age, okay, you could say that here's Aries and Pisces, right? That 0 degrees Aries has been moving through Pisces for 2,000 years. And our interpretation and our understanding and our, relationship to, Pisces has been, because the constellation, of Aries has been behind it.
Right.
And so part of this shift is also that constellation of Aries is going to be moving behind Aquarius, right? So, so there is this relationship between the two of them. If you really look at it from a bigger perspective and point of view, you can go into both. You can really look at, Venus is moving through the horn, of Taurus, touching Aldebaran, doing a retrograde back to the, horn, and then moving into, Castor and Pollux. So you can look at that and integrate it with the tropical. There are not very many astrologers that do that.
No.
The other aspect that we look at with the tropical is that it's seasonal. It goes with the seasons. It starts at 0 degrees Aries, when day equals night, at the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, and it goes from there. So the seasons are in a way far more personal.
Right.
It's more geocentric. It's more having to do with Earth. It's more, so it's, we really can. And of course, I do evolutionary astrology. I look at Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are like my big. Without Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, it's like, it's just not.
It's no fun. It's no fun.
It's no fun. Pluto is the soul. Neptune's the collective unconscious, and Uranus is the personal unconscious. Okay, well, you take those out, and what have you got? How to make money, when you're going to die.
Right. Right.
There's not an evolution and a whole, like you say, parapsychology, and the whole ability to what I feel is our life purpose of making the unconscious conscious.
Right.
And that's what the birth chart is. It's a map of our unconscious soul. And doing astrology to me is looking at my unconscious so that I can become more conscious of it, so that I'm not fighting my own unconscious with my conscious ego.
Beautiful.
So tropical, that's my baby.
Well put. And also, I do feel, I mean, this may be in many ways why I think you're able to speak to the masses in a way that is, it has a depth to it, because what you just described about kind of understanding that, just like, let's say there was a planet in a house, that house is going to shape the archetype of the planetary archetype, the house archetype, and then the actual planet or the actual sign that it's in. All of those are going to create a spectrum of archetypal and very particular, unique magnificence. That is also what you're describing in terms of watching the movement of the precession of the equinoxes, which I think is very sophisticated. So thank you for sharing that.
Super duper, baby.
So what else should we? So we have 2 eclipses in January, correct? They're both in January. Yeah. Give us some some juice on these before we move on.
They're a little bit off the actual nodal axis, okay. But I really see January as it's a big month. It's very. Particularly early on, like I said, Mars conjuncts Jupiter, January 6th, January 9th. Okay, the Sun and Venus come up to Pluto. Okay, and we have this, this Pluto energy. Pluto came into Capricorn in 2008. It's there until 2023, 24. Okay, so it's a very slow moving. It is the force of evolution, transformation, death and resurrection, metamorphosis. So the Sun coming around, Venus coming around, and of course in 2020, Saturn coming around. But this, this Plutonian energy and force is going to just really become. It's like a volcano. It's like the lava. What's deep down in the core of the earth needs to surface. It needs to release. It needs to come out, like popping a pimple. Yeah, it's a little gross, but we got to get that.
It's satisfying. It's very satisfying. All the Virgo, everyone who has Virgo in their chart understands how satisfying that is.
It's just like, it's a release, right? It's a relief in a way, right? Okay. And then of course, the Sun moves into Aquarius. All right. And that's where the south node, of the moon is. And this is what makes eclipses. Okay. Is when the Sun nears, the nodal axis. So, it's really coming in. And the emphasis, with eclipses, the way that I see them is if they are south node eclipses or north node eclipses, right? Because, the Sun on the south node, is what's happening here in January and into February. And then again, the north node is in July. Right. So the south node is bringing up the past to be released. So this is the ghosts, of Christmas past, Right. It's kind of like the way we were, or the way it was, or the way it has been ordered, structured, the government, finances. It's and this, I see as kind of a prelude. I see 2018 as, Uranus is going into Taurus, Chiron is going into Aries. This is happening in, April and May and coming up here. We're having big shifts. Jupiter changed, Saturn changed, Chiron is changing, Uranus is changing. 4 major planets changing signs, elements this year heralds, okay, this very big transition.
Right.
And part of this transition I really see as having a lot to do, okay, with government, with economy, and Capricorn has to do with physical financial security.
Right.
So it's money. It's money.
Yeah.
Big shifts in money. I really feel like this cryptocurrency,
I was just going to ask you. Yeah.
you know, it's like time. Uranus is going into Taurus, okay, and it's like, you know what, we got to get out of this regulated, okay, you know, the Federal Reserve Bank making all the money instead of, you know, the people having all the money, and all the institutions, you know, tagging this and tax on that and da 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 da, and it's just like the system is like so Attila the Hun, okay, you know, there's got to be. And this is also Jupiter and Scorpio. Scorpio has to do with money. And
Yes. Other people's money usually, right?
right, you know, shared money, it's insurance, it's taxes, inheritance. Okay. So, you know, this is just like, you know, I mean, I've got some friends making oodles of money on cryptocurrency right now, man.
Me too. I mean, what's your feeling about the Uranus shift? I mean, I would love to look at Bitcoin's actual natal chart, but what do you think about, do you think that this generation of cryptocurrency is going to be able to stabilize, or will it be like the internet, that first generation of the internet, and then we come out with another, like, is there any, have you looked at any of this? Because I'm very curious. I have an intuition, but I haven't looked at the actual astrology.
Either have I.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
I mean, intuitively, I'm going to say I think it's going to stabilize.
Okay, with Uranus going to Taurus.
I heard that they're coming out with charge cards.
They are.
So when it comes, you know, when it comes to a point, okay, where you don't have to do anything weird or anything special, you can just whip out your charge card, and whether it's connected to Bank of America, okay, or Bitcoin, you know, the vendor doesn't care. Hello, okay, suddenly it's legitimate overnight. So to me, Taurus is a fixed earth stable sign, right? I mean, so Uranus, you know, coming into Taurus is like sudden, okay, you know, like unexpected. This is like grounded, okay, this is like a new resource, this is like our new currency, this is like our new, you know, like the new way to survive. Taurus in the second house is survival, and it's just like suddenly revolutionary means of surviving. Okay, now it's there for 7 years.
Right,
okay.
Right.
And I mean, and you are right. I mean, I think I don't think it's just going to like, if anything, I think there's going to be extreme. Uranus is the planet of extremes. So there'll be like mad rushes and everybody wants it, and then it goes way up, and then nobody can afford it and it comes way down. And then I think there's going to be this whole kind of topsy-turvy, you know, very unsettling. But through that 7-year period, of course, we have this Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction, and other things go on. And in fact, you know, we move into Jupiter and Saturn at early Aquarius is going to square that Uranus.
Right.
Okay, you know, coming around in 2021, and yeah, I mean, I don't know how far you want to go into that, but you know, I mean, it's.
Well, I think every aspect of society has to change, and how we value ourselves in society, ourselves in our lives, our time, how we value who's deciding what value is placed on what. I mean, this is, to me, as these things move into Aquarius, and as the Aquarian age kind of solidifies, and as the Kali Yuga, you know, ends, I think those are the big questions of what do we actually value, because the resources and what's been kind of behind fiat currency and the military industrial complex, these younger crystalline beings, these younger generations, they don't value that. and you're seeing it in the way that the whole workplace is breaking down, what people are willing to do for money, what people are using money for, what love and relationship. I mean, the Pluto and Libra generation, man, the millennials are a pain in the ass, but I have to say this Pluto and Libra generation are, and I'm speaking, I'm a Pluto and Libra too. Like this is a massive shift in our relationship to everything, really.
Oh yeah, all these Pluto and Libra people are hitting their Pluto square.
I'm hitting my Pluto square. I know that, man. Like right on the money right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I mean, and of course it's this generation with Pluto in Capricorn. Oh my God, right? 40 years from now, when Pluto is in Aries, they get their Pluto square, is when a lot of this is really going to root and really going to that's when I would say the age of Aquarius is more firmly established. Yeah. So we're in that, we're just like we're in this birthing process, and all I can say is birth is messy.
Yeah.
And it can be bloody.
Yeah.
And it's very scary. And you've got to push.
Yeah.
And you've got to breathe. Or baby doesn't come, it doesn't just happen by itself. And this is part of what this Capricorn is, I think. It's that, it's up to each and every single one of us to be doing our work, and up to each and every single one of us to become more sovereign and more autonomous and more in touch with our nadi. Yeah. And just like really raise our Kundalini, and just like, step into, being models, being authorities, being, examples, for the future generations. And you're right. This Uranus coming into Taurus has to do with values. Yeah. And it is a shift in values. What is important? And I think Aquarius, community, each other, getting along, waking up to planetary consciousness, cooperation. These are going to, I think, become more valuable. And so it's the communities, and it's the tribes, and it's what brings people together, and is a sharing of values, and can really serve to heal the planet, clean up the planet, help us all survive.
Yeah. Because there's still like, we think, and maybe it is, but we think like with the SpaceX and all these artificial intelligence and all these kind of things that are happening in accordance with the technological age and with it, they're all very Aquarius, age of Aquarius kind of things, but at the same time, there's still that grandiose, if you want to go back to the nodes of the moon, there's still the kind of grandiose Aquarian kind of vision, whereas we're here, we're on Earth. We have to do something about what's happening right here on this planet. There may be an elite agenda to go and already civilizations on Mars, but we got to do something about where we are just right now.
Yeah. And it's unity in diversity. And part of the Saturn Capricorn patriarchal conditioning, is to try to make everything uniform, everything the same, have the, excuse me, look the same, walk the same, talk the same, do the same, little automatons and little robots. So I think we're also coming into this time of diversification, where we have our eccentric, unusual, bizarre people that just like offer, such a wider, broader, expansive stage and capacity to express human nature in a multiplicity of different ways. And the Cancer Capricorn axis does have to do with gender. We have the whole transgender movement, okay, getting so much stronger now since Pluto, when Pluto is in Cancer, Capricorn, and in your natal chart, the fourth and the 10th house, it has to do with a recent gender switch. Okay, in your previous lifetimes, you were the other gender. So we have a whole group of souls incarnating right now that have just recently switched genders. So we're having this whole masculine, feminine, okay, a flux and transition, okay, into, redefining in some ways, certainly relationship, but even our relationship to our own sexuality, our relationship to our bodies, our relationship to, each other, to the nuclear family, to, the way relationships have been established before, moving more to, okay, these alternative, connections, and it takes a village to raise a child kind of a thing. Yeah. And, it's like the nuclear family, I believe, is kind of on its way out.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think that in many ways you could see the nuclear family as a construct of kind of patriarchal regime and alienating people from each other in a way that really hasn't worked. I mean, look at the unhappiness that has come out of the nuclear family, and then the nuclear family being destroyed because it can't sustain itself by itself, and just everything that's happened from that. I think the Pluto and Libra generation, because the fathers and mothers of our generation were reacting to, in some way it was a Uranus Pluto aspect of the 60s that brought the parenting of these Pluto and Libra, and then what's happening from that as we kind of go. But yeah, I think the gender thing is a very interesting conversation, and we could go into all sorts of different realms of that, just in terms of the planetary. We have lots of life in the universe, and many of those life forms don't have gender identification the way we have on this planet. And what's happening in terms of the interstellar kind of consciousness that's coming into changing our identification and how we relate to that. It's very fascinating.
It's the leading edge.
it's a whole situation. But what any other final thoughts for us on? I mean, I love riffing with you, so I could talk to you forever. Is anything happening like as we get into next fall that we should be aware of, or just wisdom from you in any way?
Well, by next fall, oh my goodness, by next fall, Jupiter is going to move out of Scorpio. And that to me is just like really the phoenix rising from the ashes. Yes. Scorpio is this journey into the underworld, like Inanna going down and getting stripped. Okay. And then, humbled and naked and exposed and vulnerable. That's kind of like 2018. But then after that, there is this maturing and this rising, and she descends as this brash young, goddess of love and beauty, and ascends as the queen of heaven. Mm. So this whole maturing process. Mm. And the interesting thing, did you know that the phoenix is actually this Egyptian mythological, bird that makes its own funeral pyre and lights it on fire and burns itself and then rises from the ashes. Wow. That is a very interesting thing that I just came across, right? Wow. So it is kind of a self-immolation. It is kind of this, this time period of going in, but then Sagittarius, like I spoke of, is this transpersonal consciousness that is birthed out of this death resurrection process of 2018. I have dubbed 2018 the year of alchemical transformation through death and resurrection. And if we enter relationship, if we enter, right, the dream world, if we look for the mystery behind the phenomena, we have a tremendous opportunity to mix, merge, meld, and osmose in a magical way, yes, to rebirth ourselves, to rise from the ashes next fall, yes, as, wisdom keepers.
Wow. Beautiful. What an invocation. Thank you so much, Kaypacha. Thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing what you do, what you are and who you are and what you do. It's very important, and just really so grateful.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to connect with you, and I look forward to coming to Venice and doing a workshop at Rama next May.
Yes, we're so looking forward to hosting you and just opening a space for your incredible work. And hopefully we can even tempt you to the Big Apple in New York to come and do some work there at some point. When you're ready to leave the Costa Rica and hit the Big Apple. Our center in New York is really sweet. You'll love it.
I'm going to New York in July.
All right, let's talk about that. We'd love to have you. Okay. Bless you. For today, Happy New Year, Satnam.
Satnam. Happy New Year to you too.
Bless you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.